Everybody, good evening. Welcome to the stream. It's me, Digi. We are back in Euro Truck Simulator 2, specifically the Project Japan mod. I'm gonna do a delivery from Enoshima to Daikoku, and I'm going to share a little bit of a story and some lore behind Tanaka Hirosaki. Resting ops are good, Kev. It's great to see you, my friend. Welcome aboard. I'm just taking it easy tonight. Um, you know, had some work stuff, lawns mowed, dinner's cooked, dishwasher's unloaded, uh, clothes are put away. It's time to chill for a little bit. So let's go ahead and hit the road after we hop on a boat and drive down the Tokyo Bay. It is nighttime, but not for long. Let's go ahead and find the delivery, which is behind us. All the boxes checked. That's right, my friend. We'll find that. There we go. There's the trailer. It's so good to see you, my friend. Dude, it was wonderful to see you stream. Doesn't matter that it was only like 45 some odd minutes. It was great to catch up. Let's go and do my first. Superb. Let's go get in that boat. Please let me know if my levels are too low or too loud. Just want to make sure the sound is great for everybody. Yes, you don't even know. Like, you and more than a few other people have become such great friends. Twitch, Twitch stopped being about cashing a paycheck a long time ago. Yeah, it's nice to get money on the side, don't get me wrong, but being able to connect with friends like you and share life, that's what makes it so much more important to me anymore. Okay, great, great, fantastic. Let's go to Tokyo. Hey, that was like 176,000 yen. So let me think. 176,000 yen. Let's see, actually. How much is that? Siri, convert 176,000 yen to US dollars, please. So basically, the ferry ride cost about a little over 1,200 bucks. So that was not cheap. Yeah, so let's see. It's a little bit less than 10%. Like 1%. Yeah, because 10% of 176,000 is 17,600. So it's like 1% and a half. So yeah, a little bit less than 1,200 bucks. So, sheesh. This weekend's in the rear view mirror already and fading. But that was yesterday. Today is even faster. Nathan's Planes, welcome aboard. Okay, so the conversion ratio, thank you, Kev, is about 146 or 147. Or one way that I like to think about it is 10% minus 500. No, I'm sorry, 1% minus 500. Hey, thanks for shouting out Nathan's Plains. Welcome aboard. Uh, Anybody else that's lurking in chat right now, please understand some very good friends are in chat. Nathan's Plains and Kev Mikwa, who I like to call Kev. Kev is a amazing part of the community. So is Nathan. Nathan inspires me to want to fly a little bit more by the books. Hmm? Oh, ooh, hello. Interesting vinyl wrap on that vehicle. That's cool. So some of you might be wondering, okay, this dude flies planes, drives trucks, every once in a while does scenery development. His brain's all over the place. What's up? Well, here's the deal. Back in February, I decided I wanted to try Project Japan again. That turned into a easily month and a half to 2 month solid run of almost exclusively trucking streams. Eventually, that resulted in me actually having enough yen to purchase my first truck, which I have. It's a Renault tractor trailer. It's out of its place in Japan because you'd probably see more Mitsubishis, Mercedes, and other trucks like maybe Volvos. But I've kind of grown to like this truck a lot, and I like it. I wish it were quieter in certain respects, but I'm glad it's not in others. And I can just kind of click the miles off really easily with this. So, after we make this delivery, I will share with you some background that I have created. Do you need help? I'll share with you some background that I created for my principal driver, Tanaka Hirosaki. Tanaka Hirosaki started out as just nothing more than a name that I chose to create for Project Japan because when you install Project Japan into Euro Truck Simulator 2, you need to create a fresh profile to start over. So basically, I took that and I ran with it and decided I was going to create a uh, not a pseudonym, just a new character. And we've gotten to the point now where I've driven literally, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of virtual kilometers at this point. And now, one night, about a month ago, about 3 weeks ago, easily, I decided I wanted to make a story, entertain myself. So I hit up an AI chatbot and I said, make me a story about a Japanese truck driver named Tanaka Hirosaki. So over the course of 1 or 2 nights, I wrote enough material essentially for, I want to say, 2 or 3 or 4 episodes of, I don't know, either a manga or a Japanese cartoon or a movie, and it's mostly there. One of the things that I like about AI is that it likes to create stories, but I gave it a host of pointers and restrictions and information. So essentially, I said, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this, and make it about this and that and the other thing. And then what happened was a storyline popped out, and from that point going forward, I had a bit of a story. Now, I'm thinking about adding more story to it, but I wanted to share it with you guys first and see if you like it, um, if you like the idea of me driving and storytelling, which is kind of what I'm doing right now anyway, or if it's a, hey, great, did you keep on writing stories, but focus on the road more here. So I'll put it to the chat and we'll see what transpires. As it is, we are going down the Tokyo Bay Expressway, so to speak. The Tokyo Bay Road, that's what this is called. Hey, let's give it a shot. Superb. I like your sense of adventure. We are closing in on Daikoku, and I believe Daikoku Futo is a famous and quite renowned car parking area, which I went into on stream the last time that I was in the sim. And the roasts begin. Keep them coming, friends. Thank you so much. Um, I'm gonna make the delivery, and then we're gonna like use the menu music as a kind of backdrop for the story. And I say story very loosely. Consider these more outlines for episodes. Basically, enough to keep your interest for about, you know, 2, 3 minutes. And then essentially, at some point, I could probably use something like, I don't know, Canvas, Grammarly, whatever, and flesh them out even more. But I would need to kind of rehash the idea and feed more information the into the system. But is what it is. It was a great adventure. you're you're not you're it can be tough. I think the arenas in which I have the most difficulty doing something on stream and paying attention to chat is when I'm racing in Assetto Corsa, and when if I would ever play like a first person shooter or something. Like I would be either way more quiet, or I'd be saying a whole bunch of stuff and then checking chat like on a much smaller window, at a much larger delay. So is what it is. With that said, I am glad to be back behind the wheel of this truck and in Project Japan again. I like it. There was, I think I told you guys loosely, and anybody that looks on Discord knows my story, but basically, There was a time earlier this year where I found myself inside a department store, and we went past the electronics section. Ooh, driving at night. Yes, welcome in, Fuzzy Pickles. Great to have you aboard, friend. Folks, Fuzzy Pickles is another one of my friends that also streams games as well. Has become a very good friend and supporter of the channel. Please give Fuzzy Pickles a follow or check out his channel and his content if you haven't done so. We are in Japan, my friend. We're driving a tractor trailer and delivering some herbs, or as the Europeans say, herbs, to Daikoku. We left Enoshima, which is, I guess, not that far removed from Hiroshima. Thank you for the shout out. And we took a ferry, which cost about 1,200, a little over 1,200 bucks US to get from Hiroshima to Tokyo. And all things considered, that's a respectable amount of money to pay for our cargo delivery. Less traffic at night too. And you want to know something? I think the sim is intelligent enough to actually not have as much traffic come out at night. Or there's way more artificial intelligence in this game that gives the city life. Like, kind of like in the days of like Sim City, where you would have individual people or calculations for people to actually go to work and come home. This is probably maybe a bit better than that, but all that being said, that parking area is actually an entrance you can go into now. I mean, theoretically, you always could, but at the same time, I did a few streams back, well, several streams back. It is amazing to drive through Japan's urban areas at night, and it's beautiful to drive through the countryside during the day. There's a very nice, I guess you could say, symmetry between daytime country driving and nighttime urban driving. We are nearing our destination. Now, for the astute or those lurking in chat and wondering what's going on, a few notes. We did recently change the display. I am no longer gaming on a huge television right in front of me. It's not gonna lie, it's probably going to thank you. It's probably going to benefit my health going forward. But we have I have a 1080p like 24-inch monitor, which honestly is nice because it puts literally everything right in front of me. I don't have to like really look around corners or crane my neck anywhere on the screen to see everything. But if I get to the point where 1080p starts to get really old and I want to go back to like 2K or 4K resolution, then I might actually go back to the other display. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon, if at all, even though it is literally right in the same room with me. Because, I don't know, having a monitor really is growing on me, especially since the refresh rate, I believe, is even a little bit better. Yeah, seriously. Like, a 40-inch screen is great if you're, like, at least 6 or 7 feet back. Any closer, and I think your brain kind of plays tricks on you. Ooh, we're going inside a building, Chad. Alright, now, the last time I went inside a building like this, I messed myself up and I had to get towed. So, let's avoid doing that again. Alright, let's go ahead and drop this off. They need it on the other side, but guess what? I don't care. I think I'm just gonna play it safe and say I'm in a hurry now. So let's see. I made about two, like like $80,000. Well, no, 180,000 yen. I got paid 459,000 yen, but I spent 176,000 on that. That's like 280 something. So okay, so about 200 some odd thousand dollars. So I keep saying dollars, I mean yen. It's closer to, I think, 250,000 yen. So that's good. All right, let's pick some different music. Actually, Fuzzy Pickles, the beautiful thing about Euro Truck Simulator 2 is that it actually doesn't require that much horsepower. I mean, at least the earlier versions didn't. The newer ones might, but there's so many options to choose from in terms of levels of detail. I'm running this right now on my rig at 1080p, and I would imagine my previous rig, the one that had like an Intel, the equivalent of an Intel i5 processor and a 2060 Super, I was still getting, I think, somewhere between 30 to 40 frames per second. I'm guessing with modest graphic settings, probably somewhere around the 30s. And once you hit 30 frames per second, you really start to get a feel for smoothness. Between 30 to 60 frames per second, you basically notice almost no flickering or anything like that. So it depends. It depends, really. Like, don't worry about it in the sense that it doesn't. You don't need to actually have a that much power because this isn't flight sim. Flight sim requires so much graphic and CPU performance, especially things like X-Plane 12 and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. But FS 2024 more because you need more high-speed internet connection. Not very recent. You'll probably be running the game out of the box at low settings, like a low preset, but other than the resolution, you might be surprised. However, if we're talking about a rig older than maybe 2016, then you might have some difficulty. But at the same time, it's not a big deal. Can I access my other stuff here? Stand by, chat. Ooh, I can. All right. Your computer's from 2015. I have a 2014 tablet that I'm still using, by the way. So I hear you. Okay, friends. So, I think I'm going to share with you some sound bites from the story that I created. My driver's name is Tanaka Hirasaki. At this point in Project Japan, he's a level 8 truck driver. But in the story, he's been at this longer. Here we go. Grab some popcorn, something warm to drink. I'm taking you into the story and the lore of Tanaka Hirasaki. The pre-summertime air hung thick and sweet over the Tomei Expressway, carrying the scent of impending rain and the distant hum of cicadas preparing their annual symphony. For Tanaka Hirasaki, it was just another Tuesday. His chariot, a gleaming, slightly unconventional Renault T-Series, rumbled beneath him, a familiar and comforting beast of burden. While other trucks, mostly the ubiquitous Mitsubishi Fuso or the imposing Mercedes-Benz Actros dominated the asphalt landscape, Tanaka's Renault felt like an extension of himself, reliable, understated, and possessing a quiet competence. Tanaka wasn't like the rest of the Hirosaki clan. His older brother, Kenji, was already a rising star in a Tokyo architecture firm, sketching glass and steel giants that scraped the sky. His sister, Akari, was a software engineer, her fingers dancing across keyboards to build digital worlds. Even his younger brother, Hiroshi, still in university, was tinkering with robotics, destined, everyone assumed, for a life of circuits and code. But Tanaka? He drove. His father, a man who had designed complex logistics software that optimized entire supply chains, would sigh sometimes, a sound that wasn't quite disappointment, but certainly carried the weight of unspoken expectation. "A good, honest living, Tanaka," he'd say, clapping him on the shoulder. "But have you considered a different path? Something more in line with the family tradition?" His mother, however, understood in a way no one else did. A woman of quiet strength and unnerving intuition, she saw the focus in his eyes when he talked about engine torque or the best route to avoid traffic snarls near Nagoya. She'd simply smile, pour him another cup of tea, and press a small, homemade bento into his hands before he left. "Drive safely, my son," she'd say, her eyes holding a warmth that erased any doubt. Secretly, she admired his dedication, the sheer, unadulterated grit it took to navigate the arteries of Japan, day in and day out. Today's run was a straightforward one, a load of precision components bound for a factory in Shizuoka. The kind of parts that Kenji's buildings or Akari's software might eventually incorporate. The irony wasn't lost on him, but it didn't sting. He found a different kind of satisfaction in ensuring these vital pieces arrived on time, intact. The silent, unseen linchpin in the grand machinery of the Hirosaki family world. His truck ate up the miles, the steady rhythm of the engine a familiar lullaby. Tanaka's hands were relaxed on the wheel, his gaze sweeping the road ahead, anticipating potential slowdowns long before they materialized. It was a skill honed over years, starting from when he was a lanky teenager, shadowing the grizzled veterans at his father's logistics company. He'd sit in the passenger seat, a silent sponge, absorbing their casual wisdom about tire pressure, engine braking, and the subtle language of traffic. Online forums became his university, filled with the shared knowledge of drivers who had faced every conceivable challenge on the road. Welcome in, Lyles. Doing a little bit of story time. He knew the shortcuts and the scenic detours, the truck stops with the best ramen and the ones to avoid. He could predict a sudden lane change before the turn signal even blinked. His spatial awareness on the road bordering on the preternatural. This wasn't just driving. It was a complex, dynamic system he had mastered. As he navigated a tricky merge near a busy interchange, his phone chimed. A message from his younger brother Hiroshi. "Hey, Aniki. Need help with this servo motor. It's doing something weird. Do you know anything about it?" Tanaka smiled. Even with his robotics fascination, Hiroshi still sometimes turned to his truck-driving older brother for practical, mechanical insights. He quickly typed a reply, suggesting a few things to check based on a similar issue he encountered with his own truck's auxiliary systems. Later, pulled over at a rest stop for a quick break, a seasoned driver, his face a roadmap of wrinkles, eyed Tanaka's truck with a curious expression. Rare sight, that, the old man grunted, gesturing with his chin. Most young fellows want the big Japanese iron. Tanaka just shrugged, a mild smile on his face. She suits me, he said, patting the dashboard. The old man squinted at him. You handle her well. Seeing you back there, smooth as silk through that bottleneck, you've got good hands. Tanaka nodded his thanks, the compliment a small, warm ember in his chest. He didn't boast, didn't feel the need to explain the thousands of hours, the quiet observation, the sheer dedication that went into making it look easy. His delivery was made without a hitch, the factory foreman nodding in satisfaction as Tanaka meticulously oversaw the unloading. As he began the drive back, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the rice paddies. He thought about his family. Kenji, probably poring over blueprints. Akari, lost in lines of code. Hiroshi, probably surrounded by wires and circuit boards. And him, behind the wheel of his trusty truck, the asphalt ribbon stretching out before him. He knew they worried, in their own way. Worried that he wasn't living up to the Hirosaki name, that he was somehow less than them. But as he steered his truck onto the familiar on-ramp, a sense of deep contentment settled over him. He was good at this. More than good. He was exceptional. He just hadn't put a monetary value on that expertise yet. He didn't realize that the intricate web of knowledge he possessed, the routes, the timing, the cargo handling, was a golden, untapped resource. The logistics world was changing, and the kind of practical, on-the-ground intelligence Tanaka had amassed was about to become incredibly valuable. For now, though, he was just Tanaka Hirosaki, the truck driver, heading home as the pre-summertime twilight deepened. Another successful run completed, the quiet hum of his engine a promise of tomorrow's journey. He was the ugly duckling, yes, but the water he navigated held a future he couldn't yet see. A future where his unique, hard-earned skills would transform him into something far more valuable than anyone in his family could ever have imagined. So there you go. That was one of the things that I had the computer whip up for me based on the details and certain aspects that I asked it to plug in. Oh, you got it. You got it. And that was just like the first one. I've got, I think, like maybe, I want to say like 5 or 6 more of those. A fairly good amount of prompting. But usually I would front load everything in one prompt at the beginning. Give the background, the characters, a lead up to what I wanted it to write for me, and then a guideline for what I wanted it to write for me. Like, say for example, you want to write a story about a fisherman who has been doing it for like the past 30 years. Then you put a prompt that says, hey, write me a story about a fisherman. This person has been experiencing the trials and tribulations of certain rivers in his region for the past 30 years. He's optimistic, but, happy-go-lucky, and he's happy to fish, but sometimes he catches nothing. And then, blah, 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 blah. You kind of spell out all the other stuff. Enjoy the lurk, Fuzzy Pickles. Thanks so much for stopping in today. So, you basically say, here's the character I'm interested in. Write me a story about this. Do this, do this, do this, because this, that, and the other thing. And then when you write the story, focus on these points and go. And then basically it writes, how long was that? That was like about 5, 6, 9, 10 minutes of me just talking really slow, but basically, like, I guess a chapter. I mean, if you were to break that out into like a cartoon, like a Japanese anime, that would probably be a good 15, 20, 25 minutes, because it in other words, what I just read is kind of like condensed soup. You can basically make more of it because it's so concentrated. And a lot of what I read off is basically kind of like, silent effects. Tanaka being on his truck for like, 10, 15 seconds, looking down the road, scoping stuff out, and thinking, or like the narration, the Japanese subtitles kind of coming in on the bottom of the screen. So I guess if you know how to handle the prompting, you can really pull some gems out. But if you just say, "Hey, write me a story." Okay, what do you want the story to be about? About, um, a gymnast, and then like it'll write stuff, and then you can do the refinement or the prompting in midst to get it to zero in on something. But literally, the prompts that I made were like 7 or 8 sentences long, like big time detail, so that it was given everything it needed in order to create something quite legible. Ooh, remind me to talk about AI and how it relates to the 40-hour film project I participated in next time you're in my chat. Will do. Will do. Matter of fact, let me take a screenshot. Okay, I got the screenshot. Yeah, so basically, like that's kind of one of the things that I worked on for fun a couple of weeks ago, a couple of nights back, and I'm thinking about expanding it even further. I'm thinking about every single every single time I do a Japanese trekking stream, read one more chapter from the story, and have you folks listen in. It's a thought, but it's kind of fun. I do like reading story, and I hope I wasn't. I hope I wasn't droning or making people go, "Oh my goodness, when is it going to be over?" I mean, but that's the beautiful thing about opinions. Everybody gets to have one. I think I'm game too, Kev. I think I'll do that. Um, that way I can stretch it out and add more pieces to it and come up with additional characters. I've got a good chunk of characters that are regulars. Again, mostly the family, mostly the the logistics company that his dad owns and operates. And the beautiful thing about AI is that I don't have to think very hard about locations, or to a point, and I need to double check this, of course, but certain cultural norms are baked in to the storytelling. So instead of me wondering, I wonder how this gets done in Japan, and I wonder how this takes place, and I wonder what a typical day is like. Well, AI is great at stuff like that because you've got a wealth of knowledge you can just kind of dredge up and make a part of something. But like I said before, I I want to do things where there's loads of front loading involved with prompting. So I'm going to take a good 2, 3, 4 minutes crafting a prompt that's going to get me something that's going to allow me to generate the next episode, or, the next thing in the story, blah, blah, blah. But there you go. Um, I usually try to make my streams longer, but honestly, I think I'm probably going to cap it here. And every time that I do a drive and storytell, I'm probably going to try to make the driving a little bit longer at least. This is kind of just like a litmus test. and then do a long drive or do a semi-long drive and do another chapter, and then save the rest for the next telling. And we'll see where that takes us. I was pondering making another purchase, but I'm glad I didn't because there's plenty of other stuff that I have to take care of. All that being said, I'm up on map expansions and in Euro Truck Sim and American Truck Sim. So I might actually do a non-story based American Truck Sim thing, and I'm thinking about creating a convoy thing off stream. I talked about it in my Discord. I might make that happen either this week or in the months ahead. But friends, I really appreciate everybody that stopped by. Thank you so much to every single person that lurked. You don't know. You think you're being a bad person by not saying anything. You are helping my channel out by simply being here. So thank you. I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow night. I might be back on Thursday, but you never know. I could do another stream tomorrow night and then wait until the weekend or something to do one more stream there as well. Uh, no, I haven't given up on scenery dev. I'm really, really discovering what kind of cadence I need to take into the rest of the week. So stay tuned. Of course, more updates and more conversation in my Discord. And again, my apologies for not having a link that I can put in chat anymore because for some reason those get blocked for some weird, weird reason. If you can find me on Discord, if you find me in somebody else's Discord and I see you and you want to be a part of the channel of the Digi fam, let me know and I'll send you an invite. But for now, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and bid you farewell and wish you happy ramen consumption. And until the next story time, thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. Thank you so much for the well wishes, my friend. God bless you and your family, and much love to everybody. And like I always like to say at the end of every stream, if you want true peace, you want the Prince of Peace, and that's Jesus Christ. Thank you, my friends. Have a great night. Maybe a stream tomorrow. If not, potentially look for one on Thursday night. And Fridays are usually reserved for hanging out with friends on Twitch. You'll probably see me in one of those channels that I usually haunt, like Sim Caesar's channel for like train streams if he's streaming a train sim, or Studio Canuck for flight sim antics. I might even fly with him. Who knows? Who knows? But stay tuned, and much love to everybody. God bless you all. Yahweh Elohim bless you in the name of Yeshua. Take care.